Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. My name's Connor Williams, and we're back with another video. This evening's video is a little bit different. It's a bit like the free transfer one that's already been on the channel that I did. If you haven't watched that, go check it out. It was basically 5 players that I'd take from the free. Not that I would take, 5 players that either I would take, the club should take, or the club have been already looking at. So almost like a 5 free transfer targets. And today it is 5 relegated team players that we might look at as well in the same premise. So yeah, obviously every time, if you're an FM Football Manager player, you do this all the time. Every end of the season, see who's relegated, run down their teams. Players will be upset, players will be angry, players will have release clauses. You just go and you shop until you drop. So, yeah, without further ado, that's happened this year with obviously Southampton, Leicester City being a big one, and Leeds United. So we will go straight into it and have a look at some of the players that are that have been relegated with their teams and who I think we will either look at or I want. I mean, I will say this, there are a couple of players on this list that we have already been linked with, whether that be now or in the summer or January. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. And we start with Romain Perraud from Southampton, the left back. There's no shock here that fullbacks are on the agenda. I think it's sort of been dropped in the news recently that Sean Dyche was looking for a new left back. I don't think he rates Mykolenko, unfortunately for Mykolenko. So we find ourselves with Romain Perraud. There is I'll get into who else we could have had in a minute, but yeah, I really like Romain Perraud. I think we have had slight links with him before, but now that he's been relegated, I don't see why the club wouldn't look back into him. But yeah, I like him as a fullback. I think he's very decent, 25 years old. He does have some sort of weaknesses to his game that I think he could improve on. One of them being his aerial duels. His crossing is another, holding onto the ball and passing. He does well at blocking the ball. He's a good tackler and he's good at concentrating. He likes to cross, play short passes, tackles. He does commit a couple of fouls too often, which almost puts him in a similar boat as Mykolenko. The fact he can't cross or pass makes me think we should probably, if we're going to replace Mykolenko for a more creative fullback, look somewhere else. But last year, Perraud played 29 games, about 64 minutes per game, got 2 goals with an XG of 1.29. He got 2 assists with an XG of 1.89. So overperforming both there. The XG, the XA, you'd expect to be a little bit higher. Big chances created for the whole season. 0.5 key passes. That could be a lot better in my opinion. Interceptions per game, 0.7. Tackles per game, 1.9, which is very good. Dribbled pass per game, 0.8 times. Clearances per game, 1.2. No errors led to a shot or a goal. Got 4 yellow cards, no yellow to reds, no reds. So, like I said, concentration is a strength of his. Not just that, discipline as well. He's not, he's not been sent off. That takes a lot to do, especially when you're Southampton, one of the lower team, the worst team in the Premier League this season. He will be defending a lot. He's done really well to keep his head and not get sent off. The player I would like more from Southampton is Kyle Walker-Peters. I think he can play on the right. I think he can play on the left. Makeshift. He's just a very, very good player. Unfortunately, I do think as much as I'd like Kyle Walker-Peters, he's just going to cost a little bit too much for us at the minute, especially with rumours that we are a little bit cash strapped again due to assets being taken or takeovers imminent, etc., etc. So yeah, I don't think we'll go for Kyle Walker-Peters, but I'd love him. But I think Romain Perraud could be one we go for. Southampton bought him for 13 million. they will make a little bit of profit on that, but nothing major. I think we can afford to offer somewhere around the 20 million mark. Moving on, we have Leeds United this time. There's a couple of Leeds United players on this list that we've been linked with. The first one is Tyler Adams. I do like Tyler Adams. I think he's a very good player. I think he's a very, very good young player. 24 years old. Good passer, good at aerial duels, good tackler, good ball interceptor. His discipline is a little bit of a problem in his concentration. He likes to shoot from distance, play short passes, tackle. He's just, I think he's a decent Idrissa Gana Gueye replacement. I think he can sort of do that job very well. Idrissa Gana Gueye isn't getting any younger, so that has to, bear on the mind of Everton. Do I think it's the transfer that we need to make this season over a striker or a right winger? No. But it is something that if we can get him for a good price, it might be worth. He's played 24 games this season for Leeds, got about 90 minutes per game. No goals, but I think I've alluded to that's not really his type of thing. No big chances missed, nowhere near shots. I'm not even going to read the rest of his shot stats out because they're not worth doing. Expected assists, 1, no assists. 1 big chance created, 1 key pass. Accurate passes per game, 45.5, which is about 82%, which isn't bad. It's not brilliant for a midfielder, but it's not bad. But this is where he comes into his own. 1.5 interceptions per game, 3.7 tackles per game. That's incredibly high. Very, very good, that is. Possession won, 0.7 times. Dribble pass per game, 1.2. Clearances per game, 1. No errors that have led to a shot or a goal. He has had 4 yellow cards, 1 yellow to red, 1 red card. So that's where the discipline comes in. He lost possession 12.2 times. Gave away 1.5 fouls, but was fouled 0.9 times. He is a very, very good player. I think he could do the Idrissa Gana Gueye role, and he's 24, so there's still plenty of time for him to improve. I think the big one with Tyler Adams would be the price. I think he's going to cost quite a bit of money, so that might be worth bearing in mind. We'll stick with Leeds now, and we go to Jack Harrison. Another player that, again, we've been linked with. I personally don't think we need Harrison, but because he plays on the left, and we need a right winger. But he can play on the right. I think he's played about 12 games from attacking mid right. So that could be worth looking at. But he's left-footed, so he would be an inverted winger there. I don't know how often Sean Dyche at Burnley ever played with inverted wingers, but that is one to look out for. He can play on the left as well. He's played 12 games on the left for Leeds. That might be his better one. Maybe it's so if Dwight McNeil ever picks up an injury, he can come in there. His weaknesses are like sort of stuff like passing, holding on to the ball, aerial duels. He does like to cross and play the ball off the ground often, and likes to tackle. So you can see if the club were interested in him already, why they would be. Likes to cross, plays the ball off the ground often, likes to tackle. If he likes to tackle and contribute to his defensive stability, which we'll get into now, it's very Dwight McNeil-esque. This season, he played 36 games for Leeds in total, got about 76 minutes per game. He scored 5 goals with an XG of 5.45, so on point for his XG there. Big chances missed, 4. Shots per game, 1.1. Assists, 7, with an expected assists of 5, so he's overperforming in his assists, which is very good. 9 big chances created, 1.5 key passes. In his own accuracy per game, he's got 18.4 accurate passes per game, which is about 71%. Now we get into his defending. Interceptions per game, 0.6. Tackles per game, 1.1. Possession won, 1 per game. Dribble pass per game, 1.1. Clearances per game, 0.6. So you can see he does sort of contribute to that defensiveness, that defensive side of the game. 1.3 successful dribbles per game, which is about 45%. He does lose possession about 17.7 times. Gave away 1.1 fouls, was fouled once. And he's sort of, overall, I think he's a very Dwight McNeil-esque sort of player, which is why the club might be looking at him, in all honesty. But the major thing with him, I would say, is we have a player like that already, and I don't think he's his position is one that we're really looking for. I mean, if you can play inverted on the right, that's probably where he is. If he's going to play anywhere, it's either that or he's going to be on the bench and he's going to be Dwight McNeil's sort of substitute to give McNeil a rest when he needs it. Which is a very, very interesting possibility. And they do seem quite like for like, but we'll just have to bear that in mind, sort of when we're looking at him. Because I personally think we need a right winger for that right-hand side, especially with rumours that Iwobi might be leaving. Moving on though, before I do, we will leave Leeds alone now after doing 2 players from Leeds. It is worth mentioning before we quickly go that we have been linked recently with Wilfred, I'm going to pronounce it Ganotto, a very, very promising young lad from Italy. He is meant to be very high rated, very, very good player, can play striker or left wing. Predominantly this season has played out on the left for Leeds. Be interesting. I think we need a striker more than a left winger. He can do both, supposedly. He is only 19 years old, so we could just start training him as a striker. It'd be interesting to see how much Leeds let him go for, though, because like I said, he is highly promising. So, yeah. We also have the news that Everton want to sign from Telefootball, wanted to sign Leeds United winger Crescencio Somerville. He is a right winger this time, so that makes a bit of sense. I I don't know. I don't know how much truth's in that. Somebody made a good point on Twitter before that we are linked with like 4 Leeds players, but Leeds are trying to take us to court for financial fair play. So I'm a bit dubious on the fact that they do business with us. But he is one to remember as well. Somerville has been linked with the club, so don't be surprised if those links sort of carry on. Now, I know what you're thinking. You'll be thinking the same as if you'd watched the free transfers. You'll be thinking, he's done 3 players already, and he's not mentioned a striker. He's mentioned a left winger who can play striker. When's he going to get to a striker? That's been our problem all season. I'm getting onto the strikers right now, actually. Coincidentally, we have 2 to end on, and I will start with the first one. It's from Leicester City. Probably wondering if I was ever going to get to a Leicester City player, as they're the team that everyone was saying are too good to go down. And on paper, they have some very, very talented players. But I think when people say that, they're thinking of Leicester of 2 years ago. I think all of a sudden their players aged a little bit. I mean, they're still a very good. They shouldn't have gone down, but I don't think it's as big of a shock as people make out. But they shouldn't have gone down. They should have probably survived, to be quite honest. But it is none other than Kelechi Iheanacho, who I'm pretty sure has scored against us before, because that is how it goes at Everton. Again, we have been linked with him, which is why we've not been linked with him, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do. Obviously, Leicester's main attackers are Jamie Vardy, who I don't think will be going anywhere. He'll probably see his career out there, and Patson Daka. I really like Daka. I think he's a fast, powerful player, but I don't think Leicester are going to let him go. So moving on to Iheanacho, weaknesses are aerial duels, which is a little bit alarming in terms of where we're going to be playing him, how we play. But then his strengths are key passes, long shots, headed attempts, which is great, and through balls. So he almost isn't a striker. He almost is better playing off a striker. Coincidentally, he has played 9 times starting up front and got 3 goals for Leicester. And as an attacking midfield centre, played 1 and got 1. He's a counter-attacking threat with a bit of pace, likes to shoot from distance and play the ball off the ground as well, which is very, very interesting. You like the fact that he's a counter-attacking threat, because so is Keres, who we've been linked with all year, basically. And that's one of the reasons people wanted us to get Keres, is because he's a counter-attacking threat who does well with his back to goal. Iheanacho is a counter-attacking threat. He's played 28 games this season for Leicester. He's got 5 goals, got an XG of 7, 0.13, so he should have more goals realistically. He has 1.4 shots per game. He's missed 6 big chances, 1 headed goal, 2 left-footed goals, 5 assists with an XG of an XA, sorry, of 1.8. So overperforming there. What he lacks in performing for getting goals, he's overperforming in chances, in assisting. Chances created 7, 0.8 key passes, decent sort of passing stats as well. Interceptions, his defensive side we won't go into because it's not that good. Basically half of his dribbles are successful as well. Did lose possession 6.3 times and was fouled 0.6 times. But yeah, overall, guys, I think Iheanacho, Leicester played 27 million euros back in 2017, which I think is about 25 mil, isn't it? 25 million pounds. Listen, his creative stats are really, really good. They are good. But I just worry that his scoring stats aren't good enough. And we've just had a striker at the club in Neil Moipai that we don't rate for that reason of he's not getting goals. Not to say that he's a Neil Moipai. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying his stats don't suggest he's a good goal scorer, but he is creative. It's a really tricky one, that. I think the way Everton are at the minute with Calvert-Lewin, unfortunately, having his injuries that he has, I think we need a goal scorer first. Then we can look at a creative forward. If you're going to play a 4-4-2, you need a creative striker and a goal scoring striker. And I think he could be one of the creating strikers, supporting strikers, but we need a goal scoring striker first to replace Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But yeah, now we move on to another striker, and it's Che Adams. Again, another player that I think is more of a creative supporting striker than your main goal scorer. Che Adams is mentioned because we've obviously been linked with him before, has Everton in his name, which I'm sure some people will like. His weaknesses, passing, holding onto the ball. Again, that doesn't sound very good when you think of how Everton play. His strengths, through balls, headed attempts. He gets fouled often, likes to do flick-ons, commits fouls very often. So already, again, they're red flags for me that he sort of can't hold on to the ball. If we're playing him as a creative one, that's fine. But I don't think if we buy him, he should be played up front on his own. Maybe the club aren't looking for that. I can see Sean Dyche reverting back to the 4-4-2 he loves so dearly. But yeah, that depends again on how fit Calvert-Lewin stays, because I do think the club will still see him as the main man. And who we get in. If we can only play with one striker, I don't think Dyche is going to try and fit 2 in if he doesn't have to. But so Che Adams has played 28 games for Southampton last season, 71 minutes per game, 5 goals, an XG of 6.63. So again, should really be scoring more goals than that. 0.2 goals per game, 1.7 shots per game, 11 big chances missed. 2 headed goals, 3 right-footed goals, 3 assists, an XG of 2.21. So again, his expected assists suggest that he's actually overperforming. Big chances created 3, 0.9 key passes, decent passing stats. More than half of his dribbles are successful. Loses possession 9.8 times, and was fouled once per game. Listen, again, take exactly what I've said about Iheanacho and put it on Che Adams. Supportive striker, he's okay. He is, I'm not going to say he's a world beater. He would do that role well enough, and that would be okay. Main goal scorer, no. Only lone striker, no. Needs to be one of the two. Needs to be someone that can play off a Calvert-Lewin, someone who can hold the ball, play it down, let Che Adams take it, or Iheanacho do something with it, play Calvert-Lewin back through, and Calvert-Lewin will predominantly be the goal scorer. These will finish, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they can't ever have a chance or a shot. If Calvert-Lewin heads it on over the defender and Che Adams and Thingy Iniacho are through in goal. They are very much likely will finish because they're professional footballers and they're professional strikers. But I can see it more being a one touch and go with Calvert-Lewin, touch, pass it to them. They'll take the attention, draw the defenders. Calvert-Lewin runs through, ball, goal. That's how it can work in a 4-4-2. That's the only other way I can see it sort of working. I can't see these two being lone strikers, but that's just my opinion. But that is the list of 5 from the relegated teams that I think Everton could look at this summer. Again, these aren't all ones that I'd definitely take. There's some big names missing that I'd love. But obviously, like I said, Kyle Walker-Peters is one, but he might be going for big money. Salisu, the centre-back from Southampton, I quite like. Patson Daka, I quite like. From Leicester City as well. I think he's a very, very good forward. Trying to think who else plays. I wouldn't take Bamford personally. Southampton's right winger is Theo Walcott, who we've had before. Southampton, I'd actually look at raiding a little bit. I like Lavia, the centre mid, especially if we lose Onana. Why not replace one Belgian lad with another Belgian lad? But yeah, that's all we got time for. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and comment down below your thoughts, your opinions, and let me know who you would take from the relegated clubs. I'm interested in hearing what other people say. So yeah, any players, obviously try and be realistic. Although, other than Kyle Walker-Peters, I don't see many being unrealistic because they have just been relegated. But I look forward to reading them. I'll see you guys very soon. Take care. Peace.